Now, believe it or not, we are all actors in a play that have been already written. All of you believe that you have a certain amount of choice to make in life. But the fact is, and I will do this later this afternoon when we get into some history programs, that we are on timetables that run on 7-year international, on domestic bankruptcies and 70-year international bankruptcies. These bankruptcies control the planet for the last 6,500 years in all countries. All countries worldwide are controlled by the post office. Not the courts, not the judges, not the kings and queens, but the postmasters of the world run the entire planet, have for 6,700 years. Going all the way back to Pharaoh, henceforth the Masons. Now, a lot of you we're in this room today. A room is a closed area, so therefore it's a court. I'm going to show you a dollar bill here, which you're all familiar with, and on the back of the dollar bill you have the eagle, right? Notice the eagle's wings are turned up. If you notice the eagle's wings here are turned down, that's because it's a phoenix. This is Vatican rule, banking. And the flag here has yellow fringe on it. And the yellow fringe flag changes the dimension of the flag. This is a maritime braid for commerce. The fringe changes the description of the flag. It's under Army Regulations 840-10, Chapter 2-6. Allows for fringe to be put on military flags for parades. But anything you put on top of the flag cancels the contract of what a flag is. So even though you think you're looking at a United States flag, United, UN means no, and ITE is citizen. A no citizens condition of state flag. Controlled by Vatican banking. So they went ahead and the Masons signed this contract to take over the Hawaiian Islands. Now there's a law called the Rescissions Act. It goes all the way back to the Civil War. The Rescissions Act says that no law becomes legal for 3 days. And this 3-day notice, if you ever look at when contracts are signed, even when you all did your mortgages, either bought property or sold property, you couldn't pick up a check in your closing for 3 days. That's because of the Rescissions Act. That's Title 15, Section 1636 and 1639. Now, the Rescissions Act then went into effect on the 17th of January, 1872. Put a 20-year moratorium on it. It's January 17th, 1893, when the United States took over the Hawaiian Islands. So I did the same thing to the Quran for the Muslims, and I did it to the Bible, King James Bible. I was able to discover the secrets, putting me as the chief federal judge of the United States of America, prosecuting judges for the past 32 years. That's what I do. I prosecute judges. I'm the bad boy. As a result of this, the reason I told you this is because everybody wants you to walk into the state court. Well, state is undefined. You live in the state of Indiana, right? That's not a true statement. You live in the Indiana Territory. The state of Indiana is the name of the vessel in dry dock called your courthouse. All courthouses are foreign vessels in dry dock controlled by the Department of Transportation. In other words, the port authorities control vessels in dry dock. All judges in the United States and all courthouses are paid by the port authorities. That's a very big secret. The port authorities are controlled by the DOT, Department of Transportation, which is owned by the Post Office, which owns the Treasury and the military, that was not in circulation. And the stock market went from 5,300 to 14,200, all the way up to 9/11. And then 9/11 brought everything back down to 6,000 again because of the new terrorist bill and all that stuff. We'll get into that later. But going back to Bill Clinton, he says, how am I going to go in front of Congress here in 2 weeks? I says, well, you're going to hold up a dollar bill. Walk into Congress and say, ladies and gentlemen, before we get started today, I'm going to tell you the truth. He says, but you won't be able to handle the truth. Phrasing Jack Nicholson. He says, you know, we're going to take you back to when you were 10 years old, 5th grade English. He says, first off, we have a line that goes around the money here. March 1st, 1997, I sued the United States Treasury under maritime law boxing. And that's why all your money today doesn't have any boxes on it. If you've... See the 10? It's got a circle around the 10. And the 20 has a circle around the 10. So does the 50s and 100s and the 5s. They're all the same. No more boxes except for the $1 bill. That's because there's so much Masonic information on the back. The pyramid has 72 stones on it. That's for 72, the rule 72 of banking. You take the interest first and you walk down to the principal. The all-seeing eye is Masonic. The capstone has never been completed because the process of discovery is always in motion. Made all the newspapers around the world. And all the southern states put up the Confederate flag on top of the Capitol buildings. Florida, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Louisiana. Everybody's going like, what's going on? It says, you can't surrender to a gun in your face. When the Constitution of the United States ended on November 2nd, 1859, the United States of America did not exist. The South was an independent country. They created the Articles of Confederation. Article was a pronoun, of is an adverb, making confederation a verb. That was a lie. So they don't exist either. It's an illusion. So their illusion versus the United States of America, of is an adverb, making America a verb. Illusion. How does two illusions create a fact? Okay, birth certificates. When you are born, the United States government allows you 45 days under trust law, and on the 45th day you're declared to be a dead person because your name on your birth certificate is nom de guerre. Okay, on that 45th day, they then take your birth certificate and sell it to the Internal Revenue Service and issue $1 million worth of cash to go into your account. Why do they do that? Because they need money to account for your wages, medical expenses, automobiles, buying houses, and then accumulated interest to pay for your retirement at 65 through 100. If they don't put $1 million in cash into a numbering system as a value for the energy of your life, there would never be enough dollars in the system to support the entire planet's operations as the population expands. This is a good thing. Number two, under the redemption, it's called the redemption, which was created by Janet Reno in 1995 under Bill Clinton. Redemption was engineered to capture anybody that would steal money from this treasury, from this number, and put them in prison for 30 years for mail fraud banking. Why? Because the redemption program was set up in adverb-verb, and if you use adverb-verb, you activate the Title 15, Section 1692E, and Title 15, 78FF for a $25 million fine and 30 years in prison for bank fraud. And if you don't study this program, thousands, tens of thousands of people were put in prison for using the redemption and stepping on that trap. Lost their homes. Peterson, Clark, and Schweitzer, Leroy Schweitzer, promoted this thing and went through and harvested over 2,000 families across the South and the West, lost their homes, went to prison. They took their farms, their cars, their homes, their pension, everything, put them in prison, which resulted in, for those that are old enough, the Freeman standoff in Montana, Montana Freeman, 1995. And guess who prosecuted the 100 FBI agents for fraud and misleading statements on that exercise? I did. I'm the judge. And now the same U.S. attorney that was involved, went up against me in 1995, is involved with the Kansas case I'm involved with on a foreclosure. When my name popped up last week, she went ballistic. She says she lost that case in 1995 and it was a burr. You know where burrs go. And as a result of that, she is just livid. She wants my head on a stick. I'm going, well, have fun. I says, well, first off, you got a second grade reading level against my 28th grade reading level, and I'm going to have you for breakfast. So it's just a matter of a couple of weeks before we file the indictments against her. 1775, the United States of America goes to France and borrows 1.6 million francs to go ahead and fight the Revolutionary War against England. The war rages on for 7 years. In 1782, they now owe 2 million francs to the French. So the United States of America, 13 colonies, file bankruptcy, domestic, against because they can't pay it, they just come out of a war and they got no money. 1789, 17th of September. The United States of America cannot pay back the 3 million francs now. So, England, Rothschild, goes ahead and buys the $3 million note, throwing in the United States into a 70-year international bankruptcy. At 70 years to the Declaration, the Constitution of the United States of America was written, and the Congress would not sign it, so they put the Bill of Rights on top of it. They signed the Bill of Rights, but it was bonded, so therefore the Constitution of the United States was signed because of the bonding. The Declaration of Independence. D means no. Claire means speak. At is location. ION is contract. In means no. D means no. Pend means write. Ants means contract. You shall not write contract and you shall not speak contract. Benjamin Franklin. The is an adverb. You got a prepositional phrase of the, but they split it. The is an adverb making declaration a verb. Of is an adverb making independence a verb. Both false and misleading statements and fictitious conveyance of grammar. Henceforth, the Declaration of Independence is being sold at auction as a meaningless document written by a French attorney who was hired by the English crown to capture the United States of America and the founder of the Continental Congress. Welcome to treason at its first course, Benjamin Franklin. Since I brought this out in 1995, there's been eight major books published on Benjamin Franklin's treason as being bigger than Benedict Arnold, for those of you who know Benedict Arnold.
How should you write that?
Huh?
How should you write that?
Well, not declaration. S apostrophe.
Seem to be creative. What's another word for improvement? Quality.
Something like that. For the people's knowledge of the Constitution is with the claim of the correct sentence structure, communication, parse, syntax, grammar, with the rights and freedoms of the creative quality of our lives. Oh yeah, 70 years. 1859, September 17th. Now, if we add no law becomes legal for 90 days from September 17th, plus 45-day trust law, you got the bombing of Fort Sumter in 1860. And the South breaks free from the North. Oh yeah, there's also a 3-day rescission act. So you had to follow timelines. These timelines were set up 4700 BC, giving a rough estimate. So it's been 6,700 years running. And these timelines have never changed. The Civil War starts. Add 70 years, 1859, 1929, November 2nd. Was presidential election day, November 2nd. The United States of America says we are coming out of our international bankruptcy with you. It's called the Year of Jubilee, the forgiving of all debts. Now, England says, all right, you're going to end the bankruptcy. 5-day rule applies. We have to give a 5-day notice to all banks and credit unions that we are going to close the banks and credit unions on November 2nd. That was posted on October 29th. Anybody remember that date? Stock market crash threw us into the Great Depression. The dollar went from $1 to 10 cents in value globally. It has gone up from 1960 to 2010, 50 years, from 990 to 4,020. And then you wonder why I have global warming. Okay. So the bankruptcy was renewed on September 17th, was retroactive renewed to September 17th, 1929. Because you have to add 45-day trust law to September 17th, and you get November 2nd. You ever wonder why we have the first Tuesday in November, November 2nd? Because it's 45 days after the Constitution of the United States international bankruptcy was signed on September 17th, 1789. Add another 70 years, and you get 1999, November 2nd. Just happens to fall on that date. The president on November 2nd, 1999. Those of you that are old enough and remember, we counted ballots, as no law becomes legal for 90 days. Because there was no law in the United States, the bankruptcy, the IRS does not exist for 90 days. The United States government does not exist for 90 days. The United States military, under the Universal Postal Union, was ordered at DEFCON 2 with their finger on the nuke button. We were at 1 minute to midnight for the end of the world. If anybody were to, if China or Russia launched an attack against the United States when we didn't exist, they were going to go to nuclear World War III. That's how close we were to the end of the world. So for 90 days, they had everyone count ballots. Watch the left hand while the right hand took care of business. And on February 2nd, 2000, Bush, with 47% of the vote, was the 45th consecutive left-handed president in the United States. No president has ever been right-handed in the United States since 1775. In 22nd of October, 1871, the Hawaii files bankruptcy. Now, under the words of damage, no damage becomes legal, and under maritime law of commerce, which falls into the maritime salvage claim, Title 46, Chapter 16, Section 781, that's your salvage. That's maritime salvage. All right, the Bern Switzerland shows up in Hawaii on this date and gets Hawaii, King Kamehameha V, to file bankruptcy. Under damages, no damages complained. So this is the 22nd of October, 1872, plus 45-day trust law and 3-day grace period is the 6th of December, 1872. Guess what happens on that date? King Kamehameha V, the last reigning monarch of the Hawaiian Islands, is assassinated by poison and dies. The Hawaiian Masons, because he is a 34-degree Mason, being that he is the reigning king and monarch, activates the 20-year moratorium that if you are dead or off the land, because he's responsible for all the land in Hawaii. Add 45 days to December 6th, and you get, plus the 3-day Rescissions Act, and you get the 17th of January, 1873, plus 20 years is 1893. January 17th, 1893, the United States military shows up. The commander of the warship is a postmaster, ordering the postmaster of Hawaiian Islands to take over the Iolani Palace and capture the Hawaiian Islands, putting the Hawaiian Islands into United States territory. Queen Iolani then writes a cursive letter, an adverb verb, to complain. But as the Queen of Hawaii in 1893, she's also a 34-degree Eastern Star. And when you join the Masons or Eastern Star, you surrender your king, queen, presidential, or director's position and are now work for the Masons as a postmaster. And guess what's right across the street from the Iolani Palace? Postmaster, Lodge number 1 for the Masons, the Post Office of Hawaiian Islands, Immigrations, Customs, and the Supreme Court of Hawaii, all in the same room. All the heads of government. So, I looked at this and I'm going like, all right, here we have 45-day trust law. 1-year damages was vacated. 45 trust law and 3-day grace period allows them to assassinate him. Plus 45 days and 3-day grace period allows them to take over, plus the 20-year moratorium, capture the Hawaiian Islands. All done by timetables. Now let's work backwards from this. As we know, that bankruptcy is a 70-year international condition, plus a 45-day trust law. If you add 45 years and 3-day lemon law, you get 7 December 1941, bombing of Pearl Harbor. The Japanese Post Office declared war on the United States Postal Service in Honolulu, Hawaii. It was a postmaster-to-postmaster war. Only post office vessels, which are all military planes and military ships, carried the mail between the United States and the Hawaiian Islands. The Hawaiian Islands was under military control from 1893 under the United States Postal Service, folks, not the United States government. The government is the post office. The President of the United States, pre-simulation denture, appoints a Postmaster General who controls all branches of government, CIA, FBI, police, fire, every branch of government, Homeland Security, Department of Interior, Department of Forestry, everything on planet in the United States is controlled by the Post Office. The Post Office in all other countries is also controlled by controls all branches of governments. The directors, the presidents, the kings, the queens are no more than puppets working for the postmaster. Because the postmaster controls the treasury, who prints the money, controls the military, and that's how the world runs. You want a new world order? It was established on the 22nd of October, on the 22nd of October, 1871 was a new world order. It was set in motion by the post office. New world order has been here for 140 years. So everyone talking about the new world order to take over, it's been in place for 140 years until I showed up and there's a new sheriff on this planet and he's taking care of it with syntax. And that's how it works. And the whole world has to change. Now, what is my position?